Welcome to Langkawi Island, Malaysia. So I ended up here because I actually got stuck in Malaysia. My friend and I didn't think that the exact dates were that important for the e-visa for Vietnam. So I said that I would arrive on December 6th, but I actually changed my plans to arrive on December 2nd, but my e-visa was only valid for the 6th. So I had to wait 4 days till I can enter the country, which is how I suddenly ended up in a tropical island in Malaysia.
So I booked both the flight and the Airbnb like literally at the airport, then just stayed at the airport, flew to Langkawi, and the next day I decided to explore a little bit, and I went around like the downtown area. I was around Chenang, and then I went to Chenang Beach. If I remember correctly, I got brekkie like downtown, and then I went to some malls, and then I went to the beach. And I'm pretty sure this is Chenang Beach or Tenga Beach, or both. I took a grab to one or the other, or I walked or something. I don't really remember. Pretty sure that this beach was like very close by to my hotel. And it was very easy to get a grab because my hotel was right next to the airport. And then I had a taste of like the beaches here, and I was like, you know what? I want to see all the beaches. I want to go beach hopping. So the next day I decided I would do that. This night, the town that had a night market was called Kua. So I decided to go to the Kua night market, which led me to Legenda Beach, which was one of the beaches that you just saw. Maybe. I don't know. I think this giant thing, I have no idea what this is, but I think it was nearby Legenda Beach. I took a grab all the way to Kua, and I just walked around like this, like, I think this was like Legenda Park or something. It wasn't like on Google or anything. Like, I just happened to find it and just walked in and was like, oh, wow, this is cool. Anyways, I had a lot of time to kill, so I was just kind of walking around, killing time, waiting for the sun to set because the night market was still setting up when I walked around. I walked around town, I walked to the Masa Tower, pretty much just tried to kill as much time as I could for the night market to finally be done setting up. I'll be honest, there was not a lot going on. Not a lot of places were open, not a lot of stores, not a lot of restaurants. A lot of things were closed, and there wasn't really much to do other than walk around in circles and go to the few stores that were open. But there was like a nearby market right by where the night market was setting up, and I walked around there. And then finally, when it looked like the night market was pretty set up, I went here. And I did notice that most of the food is like the same food, like in each stall. Like it's like the same, like it's just like this, people do the same food, but like different stalls. This one I found interesting, and I had it. It was pretty good. There wasn't that much variety as like the other night markets in KL, but they still had like really good cheap food, and that was all that mattered. So after that, I didn't spend too much time there because it was a pretty small night market. I decided to go back to Masa Tower. Well, go all the way to Masa Tower because I kind of just walked by it. This one is supposed to be like, I don't know if it's supposed to be that tall because it's really not that tall. But it is pretty. It's pretty to look at. So I went there and I sat there and I ate some of my food that I got at the night market and met some other travelers. I think it was like either 70 or 80, either ringgits or dollars. I doubt it was dollars. It was probably ringgits. But that's kind of a lot to enter the tower. So I decided to just chill outside, and the security guard said I could sit over here. And I ended up chatting with some other travelers and saw some sort of animal. Not entirely what's native here, so I don't want to be like, yeah, I saw a dolphin if it wasn't a dolphin, because, that'd be kind of awkward. But anyway, I spent the night here. Well, I didn't spend the night here, but I spent some time here because I wanted to see the tower light up, which I did. And finally, once it lit up, I was like, okay, yeah, I can go now. And then I just called a grab and grabbed home, and then I ate some of the foods that I got at the night market. I didn't get a lot because I wasn't too hungry and I didn't want to go crazy and spend all my money, but I got enough for the night and for the morning for breakfast. The next day, I decided to go to Tanjung Ru, which was kind of on the other side of the island. Took a grab there. It's a bit far out, but I felt so alive. I was so happy. Like, this is what I envisioned when I thought of Malaysia. Of course, then I flew to KL and it was like completely not this. But yeah, I was in love with this beach and it was almost empty. There were a few other people, but for the most part, it was pretty empty. And I swam for hours. I just like sunbathed, took a nap, swam around in the water, floated around. It felt so good and nice. And the water was pretty clean. My surprise, because there are some really disgusting beaches I saw in Malaysia. After going to Korea for one night and being in KL, which is like the city, I was so happy to be back at the beach, especially because in America just before, it was coming into winter and it was getting pretty cold. So I missed the beach so much and I was so happy to be back, and I spent a lot of time here and then decided to go beach hopping because I was like, well, what other beaches are here if this one is so amazing? Like, what else can I see? So I mapped down and looked at the other beaches around the island and decided which ones I wanted to go to. Fortunately, since I was so far out, it's actually really hard to get a grab out here. So if you come to Langkawi Island, you kind of want to have either a moped or, you know, those little motorcycles, or rent a car, or hire a driver. I didn't do that. I just took a grab out here and just had no way to get back. Luckily, since this was the most popular beach, there are cab drivers, but they're a little bit overpriced and I was low on cash. I wasn't able to get a grab, so I had to get a cab and I had to use like my remaining money. Tried to bargain, didn't work. But he drove me down to another beach. And in my head, I was a little bit worried about how I was going to get back to my hotel. But that was also the least of my worries at this point. So this is Black Sand Beach. And I just, I looked on the map and was like, well, technically all the beaches are connected. Like, if I just kept walking down the beach, I would end up at the other beaches. So you know what I freaking do? I just walk like along the coastline for ages, just trying to get somewhere that has more like civilization, more people where I can call a grab. And beautiful walk. It was very lovely. I enjoyed this walk, I think, almost the most out of this. Well, actually, this whole trip was amazingly beautiful and there are a lot of parts that I really enjoyed. But yeah, this was a very beautiful walk. There was no people. Obviously, I don't think most people walk this far down the beach. And I don't really think you're supposed to. And I just saw some locals like fishing. But there was definitely like no one like swimming in the water or like no tourists. Clearly, it was just my grand idea to walk down the freaking beach. I was really enjoying this beautiful walk, but I was starting to get tired because I had walked pretty far and I was like, wow, I can hear the road, but there's no way to get to the road. So I'm just stuck on the coast until I find like some sort of opening or connection to the road. And I wasn't finding it, but I did think that I at some point started to see some civilization off in the distance. So I just kept walking towards that way. I did check the maps and I did see that there was some like other stores and like buildings and restaurants if I just kept going. It was kind of a long way, but it was definitely a scenic route. I honestly think because I decided to take such a scenic route, I've got some of the best views and maybe like not as commonly seen views from tourists in Langkawi, because there's like no way to get here unless you just keep walking from one of the beaches. And it's definitely like not recommended, or it's not on like Google. Like I haven't seen anyone do this. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure people have done it, but like I really went on a mission here. So enjoy my nice little walk down the beach that kind of wasn't so little. And alas, I start to see signs of civilization. I mean, it's a factory, but I knew I was getting close. So I find a footpath up to the highway, and literally it just dropped me at like some random thing off the side of the highway. Like, it was so random. Like, there was nothing here. it was really hard to get a Grab driver out here because I was so far out. I got really lucky and I just happened to get a Grab driver after like over an hour of waiting. Data wasn't working, my hotspot wasn't working, my phone was dying, and I was really worried that I wouldn't be able to get back. So somehow, magically, I was able to get a Grab driver. But I booked the Grab to go to another beach, which is Sandy Skulls Beach, and I am so happy I went to this beach. But I was a little concerned that I wouldn't be able to get a Grab driver back from Sandy Skulls back to Chenang. I told the Grab driver how happy I was that I found him and relieved, and I was really concerned about how I was going to get back. And I feel like he kind of took advantage of my situation, but he offered his services as a driver. And this is pretty common in Southeast Asia to like have people that just full-time drive tourists around. So it's not unfamiliar to me, and it wasn't like creepy or anything. And he seemed like a legit like driver. So I don't want to talk about how much that was, but pretty much I felt like I didn't have a choice, and I decided to hire him for that day and the following day. So then I didn't have to worry about getting a Grab or a cab or anything back. So he waited for me at the beach, and I swam around and made friends with some more tourists. He was actually staying in the same area as me with his other friends, and he got a motorcycle, so he actually offered me a ride back, but at that point I had already paid the driver. So I left around the same time as the other travelers because I wanted to get dinner with them, but I also wanted to go to a night market. The driver ended up taking me to a waterfall, and he's like a full-on tour guide. Like, he knows like all the spots and everything. He even took me to this local sunset spot where there were some other tourists. I think they didn't seem local, but yeah, it was kind of like a hidden spot that's not as known, so it was nice that he took me there. Didn't have time to meet up with my new friends, but we decided to meet up the following day. I'm pretty pooped from like the whole day and like being worried the whole day. I did walk like all the way along the beach, so I decided to just go home straight after, and my friends were done with dinner, so they didn't really want to do anything. I spent as much time as possible at the night market and then headed home, and I will have to save the rest for another vlog because this one's getting too long, but there will be a part 2. Bye.